The spoken word holds the key to wealth, for life always yields to the command of the tongue. Words are not idle things. They are seeds that take root in the invisible and blossom in the seen. Many lie bound in poverty because their speech is woven with fear, lack, and complaint. Yet the moment a soul dares to declare riches, health, and freedom, the moment that soul stands firm on the ground of faith, then doors long shut begin to open and treasures hidden in the dark reveal themselves. Wealth is not a matter of chance, nor is it the fickle gift of fortune. It is the natural inheritance of every soul who aligns thought, word, and expectation with divine abundance. The universe is a lavish host, forever prepared to pour out blessings in overflowing measure. But the banquet of riches can only be tasted by those who sit at the table in confidence, speaking the language of prosperity and refusing the crumbs of worry. Worry is the great thief. It gnaws at the mind, shuts the ear to guidance, and blinds the eye to opportunity. One may strive and labor in the sweat of anxiety, yet reap only struggle. But when worry is cast aside, when faith takes its rightful throne, then every effort multiplies, and every seed of action bears fruit. To live without worry is to walk hand in hand with supply itself, for worry is faith in failure, while trust is faith in success. The mind is a magnet. That which is dwelt upon is drawn near. To dwell on want is to call it closer. To dwell on wealth is to set in motion unseen forces that hurry to fulfill the vision. The law is precise and unwavering like a track-like. Therefore, speak only of riches, think only of riches, expect only riches. The power of such alignment cannot be resisted. It is the secret by which kingdoms rise and fortunes endure. True riches do not come through strain, but through alignment with the unseen storehouse where all supply dwells. When one declares with authority, "I am rich now, I walk in abundance now," the invisible responds at once, and substance begins to flow from every direction. Opportunities, ideas, connections, and gifts appear with perfect timing. This is not fantasy but law. The law works for the fearless soul who speaks with conviction and refuses to contradict his word with doubt. To be too rich to ever worry again is not only a promise, it is the natural result of living by divine law. When one truly knows that supply is endless, when one declares it, expects it, and prepares for it, then worry dies a natural death. The heart becomes light, the spirit becomes bold, and life becomes a continual unfolding of prosperity. Words are the building blocks of the world we inhabit. Every spoken phrase is not an empty sound that vanishes into the air, but a living force, charged with creative energy. To speak is to sow, and the soil of life cannot help but bring forth what has been planted. Just as a farmer places seeds in the earth and trusts that they will sprout in their season, so must every soul understand that the words they utter are seeds falling into the fertile ground of the unseen. Those who fill their speech with lack, complaint, and fear sow a harvest of struggle, while those who boldly declare abundance, wealth, and joy set into motion the unseen forces that bring these very things into form. When a person says, even lightly, "I never have enough," the law of the word accepts the decree and returns situations that mirror this truth. It may arrive as unexpected expenses, as missed opportunities, or as delays that keep riches just out of reach. Life takes the spoken word as an order, never questioning the intent. To say, "I can't afford," is to chain oneself to poverty's post. To say, "Money flows to me freely," is to unlock the gate through which prosperity rushes. There is no neutrality in language. Every syllable leans either toward abundance or toward lack. Many wonder why their efforts to grow wealthy fail, even though they labor harder than others. The answer is often found not in the strength of their work, but in the weakness of their words. Laboring in sweat while complaining of toil only multiplies toil. Struggling under the burden of bills while speaking of debts ensures the debts remain. A person may take every right step outwardly, but if their tongue contradicts their desire, the results will wither. The outer world must follow the inner decree, and the decree is carried on the wings of speech. The word spoken with faith has the power to overturn long histories of struggle. One declaration, spoken with conviction and repeated with trust, begins to shift the unseen tides. The words, "I live in wealth now," plant themselves in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious accepts them as true, arranging circumstances accordingly. What begins as spoken affirmation soon manifests as opportunity, guidance, and provision. The law is unwavering. Words spoken with certainty must clothe themselves in substance. It is not enough, however, to speak words of abundance once, then allow fear to take over the next moment. The tongue must be trained like a faithful servant, kept under discipline, always repeating the decree of prosperity, never allowed to wander into careless complaint. Each word of lack cancels a word of wealth. Each doubt-laden phrase tears up a sprouting seed. Just as a farmer does not dig up his seed daily to check its progress, the wise soul does not uproot affirmations with contradictions. Instead, he guards his words carefully, letting every utterance align with riches, ease, and fulfillment. When the words of abundance are spoken consistently, they gain a momentum that cannot be resisted. The vibration of those words calls to itself matching experiences. Just as a tuning fork struck in one room will cause another tuning fork of the same pitch to vibrate in another, so does the word spoken in faith strike the unseen, which then resounds with visible supply. The law of resonance is at work in speech. Every phrase is a call, and the universe answers in the same tone. Speak wealth, and wealth resounds. Speak lack, and lack echoes back. Consider how the words of a child shape its destiny. A child told that he is bright and capable grows into confidence, while one told he is weak and foolish struggles to believe otherwise. Words spoken over us by others shape us deeply. But the words we speak over ourselves are even more powerful, for they are declarations we accept without resistance. To say daily, "I am rich in every good thing," is to train the inner self to expect and allow riches. Expectation opens doors that effort alone cannot touch. Those who laugh at the idea of words shaping wealth remain bound to their own disbelief. They see only the surface of life, blind to the invisible law that governs the flow of prosperity. Yet those who test the law by speaking abundance, even in small matters, find themselves astonished at the quick results. To say, "I always find what I need," and then see the need met with perfect timing proves the truth of the spoken seed. Each proof strengthens faith, and as faith strengthens, greater decrees can be spoken, greater riches can be called forth. Words spoken with gratitude carry even greater power. To declare, "I am grateful for my overflowing supply," opens the floodgates wider than to merely demand riches. Gratitude is the recognition that abundance is already present, and by speaking it, the soul aligns with that presence. The more one declares wealth with thankfulness, the faster the harvest comes. Gratitude is the water that nourishes the seed of speech. Some imagine that their silent thoughts alone govern their prosperity, but speech has a force beyond thought, for the spoken word carries vibration into the material world. Thought is creative, but the word is directive. It commands. It sets thought into motion. The mind may waver, but the spoken decree steadies it, repeating truth until belief takes root. Words spoken aloud ring not only in the ear but in the soul, affirming again and again the reality of wealth. To speak abundance is not to lie or to pretend. It is to declare the truth of the unseen. The storehouse of supply is already full. The riches of the universe are already complete. By speaking them into the present, one claims them, as a child claims an inheritance. The law does not respond to appearances, it responds to words of authority. When the tongue speaks as though the riches are here now, the invisible hastens to match the declaration. Therefore, the mastery of the tongue is the mastery of wealth. To guard the lips is to guard the future. Words of wealth plant riches in the soil of life, and the harvest cannot be withheld. Every decree of abundance is a step closer to living in freedom, for the law of speech is eternal and sure. Worry is the most subtle yet destructive form of faith. It is faith misapplied, belief turned upside down. A continual expectation that the worst will come to pass. When one worries, the imagination paints pictures of failure, lack, and disappointment, and the energy of thought begins to clothe those pictures with substance. Worry is not idle, it is a prayer in reverse. Every anxious thought is a silent decree, a call to the unseen to send forth the very thing feared. The world mirrors the inner state of belief, and worry is nothing less than belief in defeat. Trust, on the other hand, is faith rightly directed. It is the steady assurance that unseen supply is ever present, that the universe is orderly, abundant, and unfailing. Trust does not waste its strength rehearsing misfortune. It lives in the knowing that everything needed will be provided in perfect sequence, without strain or delay. Where worry gnaws at the mind, trust quiets it. Where worry closes doors, trust opens them wide. Trust is a golden key, unlocking the storehouse of good. Consider how the worrier lives. Each day is filled with restless thoughts. What if I lose my job? What if the bills overwhelm me? What if opportunities never come? These inner questions are not harmless musings, but magnetic forces drawing matching experiences. By dwelling on loss, the worrier unconsciously calls loss closer. By dwelling on lack, he magnetizes lack. His words and actions begin to betray his inner expectation. He hesitates when boldness is needed. He clutches when generosity is called for. He delays when swift action could bring success. Thus the cycle of worry fulfills itself, for the law of attraction cannot be mocked. Now observe the one who trusts. He rises each day with calm assurance that life is working for him. He speaks words of abundance, expecting provision even before it is seen. When difficulties arise, he does not allow his mind to feast upon them. Instead, he declares, "This too will unfold for my good. My supply is certain. My way is prepared." In this state of trust, he becomes receptive to guidance. Ideas flow to him, opportunities reveal themselves, and people appear in his path at the perfect moment. His steps are ordered by confidence, and so he walks straight into prosperity. The difference between him and the worrier is not intelligence or effort, but the object of their faith. Worry drains vitality. It robs the body of health. For the nervous system cannot distinguish between imagined misfortune and actual danger. The body reacts to worry as though calamity were already present. Tightening muscles, quickening the heart, disturbing rest. Energy that could be used to create wealth is wasted in fear of losing it. Trust, however, is health-giving. It relaxes the nerves, frees the circulation, and fills the body with strength. The one who trusts shines with calm assurance, and this very aura attracts favorable circumstances. The mind cannot hold both worry and trust at the same time. To worry is to displace trust. To trust is to displace worry. Therefore, the work of the prosperous soul is to cultivate trust until it becomes the natural state. Just as a musician practices scales until his fingers move with ease, so must one practice trust until the heart remains steady regardless of appearances. Trust must be spoken aloud, declared again and again, until the subconscious accepts it fully. Each time worry arises, it must be replaced with words of faith. I am cared for, I am guided, I am supplied. Slowly but surely, the pattern of thought shifts, and trust becomes second nature. Trust is not naive. It does not deny the presence of challenges, rather, it denies them power over the outcome. Trust knows that every difficulty carries within it the seed of opportunity. What appears as loss may be the gateway to gain. What looks like delay may be the arrangement of perfect timing. Trust holds steady, refusing to interpret events through fear. It declares that life is wise and abundant, and therefore nothing can truly be withheld. Worry is based on appearances, but appearances are deceptive. A bank account may look empty, yet unseen channels of supply may already be moving into place. A business may seem stalled, yet one idea, arriving at the right moment, can change its course entirely. Worry believes only what the eyes see and the ears hear. Trust believes what the spirit knows. That supply is infinite and ever-present, awaiting only the door of expectation to open. When one trusts, even in the face of apparent lack, the law begins to work swiftly. Trust is a magnet drawing solutions, and those solutions often arrive in ways the mind could never have calculated. Unexpected opportunities appear, forgotten debts are repaid. Gifts flow from surprising sources. The trusting soul does not dictate how supply should come, he simply knows that it will come, and therefore it does. The worrier, by contrast, binds the law with his own fear. He looks only to certain channels and despairs when they fail, forgetting that the universe holds countless avenues of supply. His fear blinds him to possibilities, even when opportunity stands before him. Worry whispers that it is too risky, too uncertain, too late. Thus he misses what trust would have seized. The difference lies not in the outer world, but in the inner response to it. Trust requires courage, for it asks the soul to walk forward before the way is fully visible. But courage is the price of riches. To trust is to step boldly, declaring that provision is already prepared. Each step taken in trust strengthens the foundation of abundance. The more one trusts, the more evidence appears to justify that trust, until life becomes a continual unfolding of answered expectation. Worry is a misuse of imagination, while trust is imagination sanctified. Worry paints dark pictures on the canvas of the mind, and life faithfully reflects them. Trust paints radiant pictures of prosperity, and life equally reflects them. Both are acts of faith, the only question is where that faith is placed. To worry is to worship misfortune. To trust is to worship abundance. The soul must choose daily which master it will serve. Each thought of worry must be challenged and replaced. Each doubt must be answered with declaration. The practice is continual, but the reward is certain. For the law responds without fail. Worry calls lack. Trust calls riches. The mind is a magnet, forever drawing to itself that which it dwells upon with consistency and feeling. Every thought entertained is a current of energy, and currents gather substance, form, and circumstance. The law is precise like attracts like. To live in continual thoughts of lack is to summon lack from the unseen. To live in continual thoughts of wealth is to summon wealth with the same certainty that a seed produces after its kind. The imagination is not idle play, but the mold through which life pours substance. A picture held firmly within must clothe itself in outward form. For the mind cannot attract what it does not contain. Many people drift through life unaware of this law, allowing the mind to wander over fear, complaint, and doubt, and then wonder why their days are filled with difficulty. They rehearse debts, magnify small troubles, and imagine future losses, not knowing that each repetition is a charge sent into the unseen. The magnet of the mind grows stronger with focus, and thus they call forth again and again the very burdens they wish to escape. Yet this is not fate but law, and law can be used consciously. When one begins to hold steady pictures of abundance, the magnet shifts. A person who daily imagines himself prosperous, supplied, and free creates an inner vibration that harmonizes with prosperity. The outer world must respond, for the inner state always governs the outer. Circumstances arrange themselves, people appear, opportunities unfold, all in answer to the magnetic pull of the dominant thought. The law does not consider whether the image held is pleasing or unpleasant. It only responds to what is impressed upon it with feeling and repetition. It is not enough to merely wish for wealth in fleeting moments, while the rest of the day is filled with anxious thought. The magnet does not grow strong through passing fancy, it grows strong through continual dwelling. Just as a compass needle points steadily north, so must the mind point steadily toward abundance. If it sways back and forth, pulled sometimes by faith and sometimes by fear, the attraction is weakened, the results delayed. Consistency is power. To think wealth, to feel wealth. To expect wealth without wavering is to set up a magnet so strong that nothing can resist it. This law is evident in every detail of life. Notice how people who habitually speak of their troubles seem to live in a cycle of trouble, while those who continually speak of good fortune seem always to meet with it. One may call this luck, but in truth it is magnetic law. The mind charged with thoughts of ease cannot help but draw ease. The mind charged with thoughts of difficulty cannot help but draw difficulty. Life is but the reflection of the mind's magnet, and every man lives within the world he has magnetized to himself. Imagination is the workshop where the magnet is shaped. To dwell in rich mental pictures is to polish the magnet of wealth. The more vivid the image, the stronger the attraction. When one pictures money flowing freely, when one sees himself in comfort, when one imagines freedom from worry. The subconscious accepts these pictures as true and begins to move the outer world into alignment. The unseen arranges details that the conscious mind could never calculate. A sudden idea arrives, a meeting occurs by chance, a door opens unexpectedly. These are not accidents but the natural effects of the magnetic law. The great mistake of many is to allow their minds to dwell on what they do not want, imagining they can fight it by sheer effort in the outer world. But the magnet always pulls according to the image it holds. To resist lack while picturing lack is to ensure its presence. The only way to dissolve unwanted conditions is to remove the picture of them from the mind and replace it with the picture of what is desired. If the mind is a magnet, it must be magnetized to riches, never to poverty. Feeling is the power that charges the magnet. Cold, detached thoughts carry little weight, but thoughts wrapped in emotion are etched deeply into the subconscious and radiate with strength. To imagine wealth with joy, gratitude, and certainty is to create an irresistible pull. To imagine lack with fear, worry, and complaint is to create the same irresistible pull in the opposite direction. Therefore, the wise soul cultivates feelings of abundance even before abundance is seen, knowing that the unseen must soon mirror the inner atmosphere. The magnet of the mind can be trained through words, for speech shapes thought and thought shapes magnetism. To declare daily, "I am rich. I live in abundance. All that I desire flows freely to me," impresses the subconscious again and again until it vibrates with the truth of these words. Spoken with faith, the declaration changes the inner state, and the magnet shifts its polarity toward wealth. Every affirmation, repeated with feeling, is like charging a battery. The more it is charged, the stronger the pull becomes. It is important to guard the magnet from contrary charges. Every complaint, every anxious phrase, every casual declaration of lack weakens the polarity. Just as a magnet placed near a stronger force can lose its power, so can the mind lose its wealth, attracting strength when it indulges in negative talk. The magnet must be protected by vigilance, by choosing thoughts and words with care, by refusing to dwell on what is not desired. Those who grasp this law no longer chase wealth desperately, for they know that chasing repels. They cultivate the inner magnet instead, trusting that what they seek must seek them in return. Their work is inner alignment, not outer strain. And soon they find that wealth comes naturally, without struggle, drawn by the force of their own consistent mental state. They become like the sun, radiating wealth consciousness, and all things needed are drawn into orbit around them. The mind as magnet is not limited by past failures or present conditions. It does not ask what has been, it responds only to what is now impressed upon it. A man may have lived in poverty for years, but the moment he changes the pictures within and charges them with faith, his magnet shifts. From that day, the current of his life begins to draw new circumstances. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, the outer world reshapes itself to match the inner. The magnet does not fail. Every great fortune begins with an inner picture held with unwavering belief. Long before riches appear in the hand, they appear in the mind. The outer follows the inner as surely as the shadow follows the form. By understanding that the mind is a magnet, one gains mastery over life's flow. What is held within will be held without. What is pictured inwardly will be experienced outwardly. The magnet cannot betray its nature. It must attract according to its charge. True riches flow not through strain or endless toil, but through alignment with the inexhaustible source from which all supply springs. Many have been taught to believe that wealth comes only by grinding labor, by constant struggle, by sacrificing health and peace for gain. Yet such gain, even when achieved, is often fleeting, for it is not rooted in the law of harmony. Riches gathered in strain carry strain within them. They slip away or bring burden instead of freedom. But when one is aligned with the higher law, when thoughts, words, and feelings harmonize with abundance, supply flows naturally, without weariness, without depletion, without fear of loss. The world offers countless examples of men and women who labor tirelessly yet remain bound by lack. For their minds dwell on hardship, and their speech is filled with complaint. Their outer efforts cannot outweigh their inner misalignment. Work done in anxiety or resentment draws more struggle. By contrast, those who live in ease of spirit, who cultivate joy in their work and gratitude in their words, find that opportunities open and results multiply beyond their physical effort. Their alignment with abundance acts as a lever, magnifying each action and bringing returns that seem disproportionate to the effort given. Alignment is the key, for it joins the visible with the invisible. Outward labor alone is limited, but when inward vision is joined with it, the invisible world lends its support. A person who affirms daily, "I am in tune with infinite supply, I am guided to right action, I am prospered in all that I do," places himself in harmony with the current of abundance. In this state, ideas arise effortlessly, intuition speaks clearly, and doors open with perfect timing. Strain is replaced with flow, and what once required sweat is now accomplished with grace. The difference between strain and alignment can be seen in the farmer who plants his field. One farmer digs in anxiety, cursing the weather, fearing insects, dreading failure. His labor is heavy and the harvest, even when it comes, feels uncertain. Another farmer plants with trust, blessing the soil, thanking the rain before it falls, confident that nature will do her part. His work is not less diligent, but it carries lightness, and the harvest appears abundant and timely. The outward actions may look alike, but the inward alignment makes all the difference. True riches are not earned by fighting the current, but by entering the current and letting it carry one forward. The universe is a river of supply, always flowing, always abundant, yet many exhaust themselves by swimming against it, believing they must create their own flow. They struggle and strain, never realizing that the current is already prepared. When one ceases resistance and aligns with the natural movement of abundance, life becomes effortless in its provision. What was once a battle becomes a glide. The mind aligned with wealth is calm, clear, and expectant. It does not rush frantically or cling desperately. It trusts that every step will be guided, every need supplied, every opportunity revealed. This trust allows the individual to act with boldness when the moment comes, for he knows the action is supported by law. He does not waste energy in worry or scatter his strength in fear. His inner atmosphere is one of assurance, and that assurance magnetizes circumstances to confirm it. Alignment means living as though riches are already present, for in truth they are, awaiting only the call of recognition. To act, think, and speak from the standpoint of abundance creates harmony with abundance. To act, think, and speak from the standpoint of lack creates harmony with lack. The universe does not respond to desperate wishing, but to calm knowing. The one who knows he is already supplied aligns himself with the reality of supply, and the form must follow. It is not the outer effort alone that determines success, but the spirit in which the effort is made. Two people may perform the same task, one strained, the other aligned. The strained worker drags his body and mind, resenting the task, expecting little, and receiving little. The aligned worker pours joy into the task, seeing it as a channel through which abundance flows, expecting much and receiving much. The same outer act yields different harvests, because the inner state is different. Reaches attained through alignment are lasting, for they are not seized by force but received by law. They carry no shadow of fear, no sense of being snatched from another, no burden of constant defense. They flow from the inexhaustible source, and thus they remain secure. Those who grasp this truth cease to envy or compete, for they know that their supply comes not from man, but from the infinite. No one can withhold what is theirs by divine law, and no one can take it away once it is received. The belief that strain alone produces wealth is the belief that supply is limited, that it must be fought for, guarded, and hoarded. This belief breeds fear, greed, and exhaustion. Alignment, however, rests in the truth that supply is limitless, that it flows freely to every soul attuned to it. This belief breeds peace, generosity, and freedom. The aligned soul does not cling to riches but enjoys them, circulates them, and attracts more in return. His wealth blesses others, and in blessing others, it multiplies. Alignment requires discipline, for the mind is quick to wander into fear and doubt. Each time the thought of strain arises, it must be replaced with the thought of ease. Each time the word of lack escapes the lips, it must be corrected with the word of abundance. Gradually the mind becomes trained, the speech becomes aligned, and the feelings follow. Alignment is not achieved in a moment, but cultivated like a garden. With each day of practice, the weeds of worry are removed, and the flowers of prosperity grow stronger. Strain is heavy, alignment is light. Strain contracts, alignment expands. Strain resists, alignment allows. In the atmosphere of strain, doors close, opportunities are missed, energy is wasted. In the atmosphere of alignment, doors swing open. Opportunities are seized, energy is multiplied. The one who lives in alignment appears favored, but in truth he is simply living by law. The law of harmony rewards harmony. To align with abundance is to live in tune with the higher rhythm of life, trusting that every provision is already prepared. It is to let go of frantic striving and instead act from inspired guidance. It is to understand that the outer world is only the shadow of the inner, and that when the inner is aligned, the shadow must fall into place. True riches flow through alignment, and alignment is the secret of effortless prosperity. Endless supply is law, fixed, eternal, and unchanging, awaiting only the recognition of the one who would receive it. The universe is not a place of limited portions, where one must grasp or fight for a share. It is an overflowing storehouse, a banquet prepared for all, with enough for every soul to live in ease and plenty. To believe in lack is to misread the very nature of existence, for lack is not law, it is only a shadow cast by fear. Supply is the truth, as constant as the rising of the sun, as certain as the turning of the earth, and it manifests for those who expect it. Expectation is the hand that opens the storehouse. Many look upon their lives and say, "I see only emptiness. I see no way forward," and because they expect little, little is given. They walk through a universe of wealth with blindfolded eyes, unable to see the opportunities that surround them. But the one who rises each day with the thought, "My supply is endless. Today I receive," steps into a different reality. Doors that seemed locked swing wide, and what was hidden comes forth. Supply has always been there, waiting for the decree of expectation to summon it. The law is impartial, it does not choose favorites. It responds with equal faithfulness to every expectation, whether of abundance or of lack. The one who expects bills and shortages calls them forth with as much certainty as the one who expects checks and opportunities. This is why careless expectation is so costly. To dread tomorrow is to shape it into something to dread. To anticipate good is to shape tomorrow into good. The soul is never the victim of chance, it is the architect of its own conditions through expectation. Endless supply is law because the source of all riches is infinite. The earth itself testifies to this truth. Seeds multiply in countless abundance. Rivers flow without ceasing. The air is always present for breath. Nature does not strain to provide, it overflows with generosity. The same law governs money, success, and opportunities. Just as the ocean does not fear running dry, the universe does not fear exhaustion of supply. The only limitation is the vessel we bring to it. The one who comes with a thimble receives a thimbleful. The one who comes with a bucket receives a bucketful. The one who comes with the assurance that his portion is endless receives without measure. To expect endless supply is not presumption, it is alignment with truth. Just as the child expects food from its parent without fear, so should every soul expect abundance from the infinite source. A child does not wonder whether the cupboard will be filled, it trusts. In that same spirit, the prosperous soul trusts in the endless supply of life. Trust opens the way, expectation draws it forth, and gratitude secures it in manifestation. The great deception of the world is the belief that one must compete for limited resources. This belief has created wars, jealousies, and endless toil, for men fear that if another prospers, their own share is diminished. But the law of endless supply reveals the opposite. The prosperity of one proves the possibility for all. Supply does not diminish when used, it multiplies. The more it is circulated, the more channels open. To hoard in fear is to cut off the flow, to give with trust is to expand it. The universe abhors stagnation but delights in circulation, and the one who gives freely with expectation of return sees riches increase. Expectation must be steady and unwavering. To affirm abundance in one moment and doubt in the next is to sow confusion in the field of life. The harvest responds only to the seed that is nourished with constancy. To say, "I know my supply is endless," even in the face of temporary lack, keeps the magnet charged. The outer appearance may delay, but the law cannot fail. Sooner or later, the steadfast expectation must bear fruit. The timing may surprise, the channel may be unexpected, but the manifestation must come, for the decree of expectation is always answered. Those who train themselves in expectation become living demonstrations of the law. They may begin with small proofs, finding a need supplied at the last moment, receiving help from an unexpected source, and with each proof, faith strengthens. Soon their expectation rises higher, and greater riches appear. They cease to be astonished at the arrival of supply, for they know it is natural. What once seemed miraculous becomes ordinary, a daily rhythm of provision. Life ceases to be a struggle and becomes a flow. Endless supply is not reserved for money alone. It is the law of health, the law of opportunity, the law of joy. Every good thing exists in infinite measure, awaiting only the expectation of the receiver. The body can draw endless vitality from the universal life force. The mind can draw endless ideas from the reservoir of wisdom. The heart can draw endless joy from the current of divine love. All that is needed is the recognition that the storehouse never empties. The source never fails, the law never breaks. Expectation must be practiced as a discipline. Each time fear whispers of lack, it must be silenced with the declaration of abundance. Each time doubt rises, it must be replaced with affirmation. The habit of expecting supply must become stronger than the habit of fearing loss. This requires vigilance, for the world is full of voices speaking lack, but the law answers only the inner voice of expectation. To guard that voice is to guard the future. There is no power in the universe that can withhold supply from the one who truly expects it. Circumstances may seem adverse, channels may appear blocked, but the law does not rely on one channel alone. If a door closes, another must open, for the source is endless. The soul that expects abundance remains undisturbed by appearances, knowing that provision is certain, even if unseen. This calm expectation is itself the magnet, drawing the invisible into form. The truth of endless supply frees the soul from fear and transforms its whole outlook. It no longer clings desperately to possessions or dreads tomorrow. It walks in assurance, speaks with confidence, and acts with generosity. Expectation of abundance creates an atmosphere of ease, and that atmosphere draws abundance. Every moment lived in expectation strengthens the magnet, and every proof received deepens faith. Supply is endless, law is unchanging, and expectation is the key that opens the storehouse.